And yeah. I like it. Oh, let me just quickly adjust the power settings so we don't black out. All right. Yeah. Hi, Lars.
Hi, Lars.
It's funny. You have a name that's only two letters short from mine, right?
Yes, but it's Swedish. I don't know. Your name is from?
I'm not sure. I know that in Finland they have. I think they have Lauris as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess close. Anyway, usually I ask just one question. Well, sort of two questions.
Okay.
What brings you to Latvia, and what are your impressions so far?
Oh, I started with the second one. I'm very impressed from Riga because I landed here at about 10 o'clock and I decided to walk to your flat. And so I visited a little market and met some people, and I met one from Germany on this little market. I don't know if you know this market. It's between here and the airport, and
Alright.
there are many markets perhaps. But it was quite funny because I tried some cheese and
Some what?
cheese from the animal, from not from the cow, from another animal. Cheese.
Alright.
Uh,
Some meat.
no, not meat. If you use the milk, and then you can get
You mean cheese?
cheese. Yes,
Ah.
my pronunciation is not so perfect.
You say it so smoothly.
Yes, yes. Okay, and he suddenly told me that he's from Germany. He didn't talk to me in Lithuania. What is the name of the language from your country? In
Latin.
English? Latin. Yes. He just he decided to speak to me in German, and so he told me that he's from Chemnitz in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice here. I want to
You
find
say
out
you say
more.
that just because you met a German.
No, not only because it's sometimes I visited many towns in Europe, and sometimes it is I just land and I think, oh, it's quite nice because it seemed to be calm, not so busy. Perhaps it was Saturday, I don't know. Perhaps on normal days it's more busy, but it seemed to me very calm and relaxed, and the people were more or less smiling and not so busy like in other towns. And yes, I just like it. Perhaps tomorrow I say, oh, how horrible, but today I say it's really nice.
Yeah, good to have.
And I stay a little bit longer in Riga because there's a group who arrives tomorrow, and then it's like a historic tour to Vilnius and Kaunas and so on. And when I was younger, when I was a pupil, so 18 about, I stayed in Kaunas and Palanga and so on, and so it's a little bit coming back again. But only 20 years later. And so
Was it an exchange program?
no, it was how it is called in English. If people make a special tour with school to go to foreign nations, but only not to change, only one way. So you
Was it
go
an
there and
excursion?
go. Yes, perhaps.
All
Yes.
right.
In Germany we say Studienfahrt. It's,
Studienfahrt?
Yes. You want to study something in the foreign language, in the foreign country.
So you made that one to Lithuania
Yes.
20 years ago.
Yes, and it is possible to choose. So I had to decide between London and Paris and your country.
Yeah, so well, wait a second. If you went to Lithuania, you went to our neighbors.
Yes, two. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but we made not to Riga, but to other.
Oh, so you
Yes.
made a Baltic trip almost.
Yes, but not Riga. Riga is the first time.
Yeah.
Yes, but I study history and about the German Hanse, and so I knew a little bit about the history of Riga, because founded 1201 and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were definitely the major force in actually bringing all this about.
Yes, yes.
And then I
perhaps.
guess the Swedish took it from you
Yes.
for a while.
Yes, for a while.
And then it got messy
Yes.
all over.
And the 20th century was very bloody, and
I
now
suppose
it's
so.
hopefully peaceful.
Well, I guess so, right? Now we are in a sort of 21st century statesmanship. I guess all the quote unquote brutality would be only in sports.
No, I hope.
It seems so.
No, I'm not sure. So
Speaking
sure.
about sports,
Yes.
what do you think of your
What
team's
football?
performance
Soccer.
in football? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Which was a surprise, if you ask me.
Yes, for me not so a surprise, but okay.
Really?
Yes, if you are on the high level, you know, the next time it's not the first time that the one who was the winner the year or the 4 years before
Mhm.
didn't success. Yes.
Well, I guess it comes around.
Yes, but I believe they try to become better next time. It's not so difficult because this time they were very bad, and so next time it's a little bit better. Yes.
I suppose so. So you said you studied history.
Yes.
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher.
A teacher
History, mathematics.
in what kind of school?
Higher school. I don't know what's the.
University?
No.
Higher education?
Yes. So it's called gymnasium in Germany. So if you want
Is
to
it-
go to university, you have to, or you can go this type of school. in Germany.
That is before university, right?
Yes.
So 12th class.
Yes. In the next year again 13 years.
What do you mean? It
1
was-
year more, not 12 years. Then
It
13
used to be,
12, and now we change it a little bit back, and so
and before the 12 it was 13,
yes,
and now you will go back to the 13.
yes.
Why?
Oh, this is too difficult, and it's not in
Even for you, a math teacher.
Yes, yes.
That's too
I can
difficult.
count, but I cannot explain. Yes, but it's
Wow.
in Germany. It's very the not the main country. You know, there are different types of countries in Germany.
16,
Federalism.
right?
Yes, exactly. And they have to decide how to make their.
I don't get the system.
Yes.
I always thought, well, Merkel makes the decisions for you guys,
No.
and you just implement them.
Not in
On your way, on your way.
Not in the question of education. Perhaps in the question of
So do you have?
foreign affairs, but not in the affair of education. There, the little 16 have they're very powerful.
So you have the municipalities deciding for themselves.
Yes.
And which municipality are you then?
I'm in Niedersachsen.
I just know Bavaria and Hamburg.
Yes. Yeah, I come.
So which is Niedersachsen? Where
it's
is
south
Niedersachsen?
of Hamburg.
South of Hamburg.
But it's very
In the middle?
big. Yes, more or less. But it's about, I think, 9 or 10 million people. So it's not so few. It's
Which
very
is-
big.
Which is the biggest population-wise?
North Rhine-Westphalia.
Hmm.
So where the Ruhr.
Oh, that's where the industrial
center,
area is.
Yes,
Ah.
in the foreign time.
How's it going, by the way, with the industrial things? I've heard last year Volkswagen had some legal troubles or some PR troubles with the diesel
Yes.
things.
Yes. I believe perhaps in a few years electronic mobile. Yes, perhaps Tesla. I mean, it's very expensive.
Would you be for it?
Yes, I'm not the one who has the knowledge about it, but I believe we have to change.
Fair enough. Fair
Yes.
enough.
I don't know how many Tesla are in your country here. I don't know.
Well, I would say at least 10.
The whole country. Okay.
I would say so because they are not really distributed well.
Yeah.
I think in this part,
Yes.
maybe in the bigger countries,
Yes.
they have distribution points and all those
Yeah.
charging stations.
Yes. they
Here,
have.
I only know a few charging stations, so I would guess it's just.
Yes.
Maybe-
And have
maybe
they
it doesn't.
have they a store here in Riga? I don't know. Tesla.
I'm not sure, but I think it's the nearest store I think is in Estonia.
Ah, okay.
I would guess so, because at first I remember they came from Estonia, so
Mm.
I suppose it's still that way.
In Norway, they are big. Tesla is in Norway big because they
Wow.
are supported by the government. And
Yeah, I guess so. That's a
Texas.
whole nother story by themselves. I guess
Yeah.
the Norwegians.
Yes.
So you said your name is Swedish, but do you have any ties to Sweden?
No. Only a little bit private. I'm interested in Stockholm and in Lapland. I used to walk and make a little bit hiking with pupils, for example, and so I used to go by. It's hard to get the right pronunciation with this. The feet, I think. Is it called feet?
It's fine.
Yes.
The pronunciation is fine.
I met on one journey a French guy, and he told me I pronounced this word not correct, and so I'm
Feet?
Yes, feet.
Yeah.
I didn't remember how I pronounce it. Perhaps he was wrong because he came from France.
The only giveaway for Germans usually is the. I think it's the th sound.
Yes, and the
the Germans,
yes,
right?
And the th is not so.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think that's the only giveaway that you know. Oh, he's from Germany.
Yes.
But other than that, I mean, Germans are quite well. Well, their English is fairly well.
Yes.
I mean, the biggest troubles I think in Europe is probably really southern Europe,
Okay.
and then to the east, of course, Russia
Yes.
or the Slavic countries. Those are the ones who have difficulties
Yes.
speaking English. The
But
rest,
you are
fine.
used to speak English, or
Pretty much so.
have you stayed in an English country for?
In an English-speaking country? No, never.
Never.
Well, I learned it from TV, so.
Okay.
And yeah, of course, we had some English in school,
Yes.
but about that point,
Okay.
I already could speak fairly well.
And have you got translations from English films, or have you only letters? And the oral,
That's a dynamic question, because it used to be the case that we only had those titles written about the original language. Now it's more that really they even dub it in Latvian, which is probably not that good if you think about it, because it might as well leave somebody from an education in essence. But yeah, I think most new films nowadays are really even dubbed in Latvian.
So the original is better, I think. Yes.
Well, yeah, if you hear it as it's intended.
For example, Sean Connery in original is more interesting than in the
Dude,
German translation.
now you brought some up, Sean Connery. I don't know if anybody below the age of 25 could even know him.
Yes. I
Now he might pronounce feet very specifically.
I think he's Scottish, or
Yeah. I just remember when comedians tried to do the Sean Connery, they always tried to parody the one interview he gave in America, speaking about slapping a woman.
Okay.
Sometimes they need to slap.
But we can talk about comedy. We can talk about Monty Python. But perhaps then
that's an area where I don't really know anything about. I've heard of Monty Python.
Yeah, Monty Python.
But I've probably seen some skits.
Yeah.
But I've never gotten it.
Yes.
Because I didn't watch it like an episode or whatever.
Yes.
I've just seen some skits. I know that.
Yes.
But yeah.
How old are you?
28.
Yes. So it's more my generation. So I'm a little bit more
But
than
in
40.
Germany, was it really popular, Monty Python? Really?
If I make a quotation out of this film, in my generation, everybody, not everybody, but many connected.
Monty Python.
Yes.
On which channel was it shown?
Oh, and on several. I don't remember even the
Really?
private channels. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I just thought that the only thing that Germans used to watch and still watch is Tatort.
And
That's
soccer.
about it. Yeah, well, sort of.
Tatort, yes.
But I didn't know that. Well, I know, of course, that many American films and series are being shown, and they're popular. But I definitely didn't hear about Monty Python.
Yeah.
I knew Benny Hill.
Benny Hill?
Benny Hill, yeah. The Benny Hill Show.
No.
It was also from England,
Uh-huh.
but it was a much simpler humor.
Okay.
Because I think Monty Python usually tried to make something sarcastic or ironic,
Yeah.
whereas Ben Hill was just to the nose, something.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, good-looking woman walks
Okay.
by, and then you just
Okay.
fall or something like that.
I prefer the other way. Do you know Blackadder? Blackadder? With Rowan
Blackadder?
Atkinson. Rowan Atkinson. He's in cinema again.
I mean, I know Ron Atkinson,
Yes,
but
and he produced a series about the English history from Shakespeare until the First World War.
a serious one or a comedic one?
Sorry, a serial, episodic.
All right.
Yes.
But was it more as a comedy? or?
Comedy,
Hmm.
like Monty Python. Yeah.
So yeah,
So it's this
you can
a
educate
little
me.
bit black humor if you want to.
Well, I can check it out because I've heard of Monty Python. I know it's quite impactful in the world of comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you would ask me
Yes, it's a little.
any sketch,
Yes.
don't know anybody. I know they had some Crusaders or whatever.
Yes,
There was a scene.
About Jesus Christ and the history and about
You know what,
the deadly joke.
You know what? For me at least, from the past or from the historic comedic figures is the best is Mel Brooks
Yeah. Okay.
with those movies
Yes.
he made.
Famous. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that dude I know just because I've seen so many movies of his,
Yes.
and most of them were I think on German TV.
Yes. Perhaps, but I don't know if the young generation knows Mel Brooks. I don't know.
The same with Monty Python.
Yes.
I mean, Rowan Atkinson is sort of on the border
Yeah.
because somebody still remembers Mr. Bean.
Yes, perhaps.
But yeah, I mean, now he's Johnny English for the
Yes.
young generation, that's for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, so what do you think? I always ask Germans basically the same question. What's it like after the refugees are at your doorsteps?
Yes.
Because I'm not sure what the situation nowadays is.
I believe the numbers of refugees are going down to Germany.
You mean the
Less-
ones who are coming
Yes.
still in? Yeah,
Yes.
of course. At one
But
point it should be.
for example, I visited a very impressive music with a piano, a piano player from
Concert?
Syria. And
In
it
Germany?
was in Germany, the music from Syria. He is a refugee, and it was very impressive. And he wrote now his history, a book, and some quotations. It was really impressive. So
Has anybody asked him why he came to Germany?
yes, but it's hard to explain it in English for me because I'm not an English teacher. But I try. He was in Aleppo, and the situation was really dangerous for him because he was more part of the rebels, and so he had to.
A music player,
Yes,
part of the rebels.
Yes, because
Look at
he
you.
played the piano and the IS.
You encountered a rebel music playing.
No. Even not Star Wars music or something like this. No, it was really serious. The IS didn't accept this kind of music. It was not allowed in
Alright.
their point of view.
Yeah.
And so it was a question of life or death. And so he decided to go.
And not to the neighboring countries, but directly to Germany?
No, step by step.
But the end goal was Germany.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And really a very impressive person. Yes. Even I cannot really decide, but I believe even a very good piano player. Yes.
Oh, you mean comparably?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But what do you think of the situation? Because Germany is the biggest refugee on-taker, right?
Yeah.
No other European country has gotten so much
Yeah.
in absolute numbers and relative numbers.
Yeah.
Nobody has as much.
I mean, in history, I'm a history teacher,
Yeah.
and what we can learn from history is that in every generation it was necessary to help people who were refugees, and so my personal opinion is, of course,
Was it? Because the last refugees you had were just migrant workers, right? You had a lot
for
of.
example, but in the Second World War. The
Well,
whole,
yeah,
whole
but
Europe
in between.
was
But
refugees.
but I mean in between. I mean after the Second World War,
Yeah.
the only big migration was for you guest workers in
not
Netherlands
only
and Sweden.
The conflict, Kosovo, Serbia.
Well,
there
in
were
the
many people.
in the 90s, well,
Yes.
of course you can say there was some conflict that made some
Yeah.
people move, but I mean mass migration in the millions, it was probably during the 70s, right?
Yeah. Yes, but my personally lesson from history is that we should help each other if it's possible. Of course, not only one country can heal the whole world, but
Well, maybe Germany can. You never know.
No.
But you being a history teacher, what do you think? It seems to me that Germany, or at least the German-speaking countries, have basically ruled the world for the past, I don't know, 200, 300 years.
Yes.
In a sense, they have led the way in many, many fields, not just science, engineering, but also even philosophy, music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's quite a social impact.
Yes, in some way, yes, but not. They were not the only one. Yes, I mean, Marie Curie, for example, is Polish. No? Every country has famous, and sometimes they discuss where the people are coming from because they say, "Oh, it's from our country," or "No, it's from their country."
Mm-hmm.
But it's not important for me from which country.
Well, but it would make a difference whether or not that person's native tongue is German,
Yes.
right?
What
You-
difference?
Well, it's more sympathetic in a sort of basic way. I mean, if you would ask me if I would feel something a little bit more if I
Yeah.
knew that person speaks the same language as I do, of course,
Yes.
of course.
But
That's
but
that's
it's,
a sort of a connection,
Yes.
connective element.
But it's no cause to be proud or something like this because I didn't do anything for it. But it's okay, yes, of course. Albert Einstein and so on, they were German people, but they had to.
Wait, so Einstein, he was German?
Yes, he was a refugee.
I thought he was Swiss.
No, I think he was German, but we could.
Either way, he spoke German.
We could ask the internet.
Yeah.
No, he was German.
Oh, all right.
I would
Also,
bet. But
somehow,
perhaps I
I'm somehow
would
thought.
lose. Yeah.
Let's just check. Why not? So,
But do not change the Wikipedia.
don't worry. Einstein. So where he was born? Oh, Württemberg.
Yeah, it seems to be Germany.
He was from the Empire, German Empire. So maybe he wasn't even geographically in Germany.
He was a refugee because he was Jewish.
So wait a second. Württemberg is still in Germany, right?
Yes, it's still in Germany.
Because imagine if he would have been born over here,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been. Well,
Yes,
in
but-
today's terms.
Yes, but
Yeah.
in the time
Well, yeah.
he had lived, he was German.
Mhm.
And even Württemberg is still part of Germany.
What's the place famous for other than Einstein? Does it have Württemberg? Has it?
I'm from Hamburg. I don't know.
I've been to Hamburg. Yeah, it's somehow very an interesting mix of international influences plus a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was quite an interesting city to visit.
Yeah.
And the next one I sort of liked was Munich.
Yeah.
Besides Hamburg.
And Berlin.
Well, that was just a big mess. I felt like just a big city, a lot of different things, but with no real. Well, I didn't see any, let's say, common identities.
Yeah.
It's just you walk 3 blocks and that's a whole different situation. It sort of felt like that.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm expert on Berlin.
On Berlin. No,
Yeah.
No. My wife is from Berlin, so I know Berlin a little bit. And yes, you have to take your time to get connection to Berlin.
Because it wasn't the case that it was the capital, right? When did it change from Bonn?
Oh, 1990.
Not
shortly
so-
after the end of the Cold War, and so in the 90s. Oh, 1992, I think. 92.
So after the reunification.
Yes, but I don't know the year. But you could ask the internet.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a big discussion. But
What do you mean?
about Bonn or Berlin.
Well, Bonn was the original one, right?
Yes, after the Second World War, yes. But before the Second World War, Berlin.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what was the reason to change it to Bonn then?
Because Germany was separated. Cold War.
Ah, because of that.
Wall. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Berlin was
Separated.
had a special yes, government. It was under control of the four victory
Yeah,
nations.
Allied forces. Yeah.
Allied forces, yes.
I see. Well, you have, as a history teacher, quite a lot to talk about, I guess, for at least when it comes to the last 80 years
Yeah.
for your country alone.
The last 80 years, yes.
80 years.
Yes,
I mean,
of course, so-
Lots of changes.
Yes.
Because if you ask me, let's say historically,
Yeah.
right, this year is the year that Latvia celebrates its 100th anniversary.
Yes.
But from those 100, at least 52 were occupational years.
Mm.
So we didn't really do anything as a country because we were a
Yes.
part of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
and what
History in a nutshell.
What's about your relationship to the Soviet Union now?
Well, if you ask me
Yes,
about
I ask you.
yeah, if you ask me, then there's no real relationship to the former Soviet Union countries other than economic, because politically we are more inclined to you guys,
Yes.
right, to the West, and well, other than economic ties that have been sort of taken over from the Soviet Union, because all the assets, all the railways, all the
Yes.
communications are still there, so
Yes.
they just use that still.
Okay.
I wouldn't say there's a real big tie, because again, it's more politically and socially
Yeah.
and culturally, it's more oriented to the West. So
West Europe.
yeah, so I would say at one point in time it might be the case that your future generation historians will look back and say, look, this is the time where Latvians and Germans merged
Yeah.
into one big pile of universal people.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me it used to be the case that I thought, oh, I could recognize
Yeah.
from where, well, sort of recognize from where somebody is, right? Oh,
Yeah.
he's a German, he's a French.
Yeah.
Now everybody
It's more
almost
difficult.
looks the same.
Yeah.
The newer the generation, the more homogenous they seem.
More united.
Well, not necessarily united in the sense that they will fight for the same causes,
Yeah.
but I mean literally just their behavior, their looks, their mannerisms.
Yeah.
It's all sort of blended into just the Facebook, YouTube,
Yeah.
smartphone culture.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I see.
Yes.
So, and well, I could be wrong, but
Yes.
I would imagine that at one point in time, yeah.
And I don't know how much percent, but about 30% of the inhabitants here are Russian, or
Well, it's sort of a tricky situation because most of them would be citizens, right? So
Yes.
you politically would say, well, those are Latvians.
Yes,
then.
okay.
But ethnically speaking, more than probably 40% are really ethnically related to
Yes.
Russia,
okay.
meaning the descendants of really Soviet Union citizens, for instance. And if you are talking about ethnically and linguistically,
Yeah.
meaning who use the Russian language,
Yeah.
I would say more than 55%.
Okay.
I would say Latvians in Riga are the minority,
Okay.
but that includes also those who are, let's say, from Ukraine, Belarus,
Okay.
all different. But they're used to speaking Russian, so those are those combined, and they constitute, I would say, more than half.
And do they have two passports or one passport?
No, only one.
One.
Only
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Well, there are some sort of exceptions when you can have, as a Latvian citizen, also another, but there are not that many. I think. I think they are more related to probably. Yeah, I'm not sure really. There are some possibilities. I think you can get a Canadian passport, for instance.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe some, and different others, but yeah, not too many. Let's say.
Okay.
Because usually it would be the case if you get another citizenship, you lose this one.
Yes.
It should be most of the time, but yeah, you have exceptions as usual.
Yes.
And I think for you guys, it's basically the same, right?
Yes. It's not so easy.
Because many rich people in Germany have also Swiss citizenship, right?
No,
I think so.
They travel sometimes perhaps to this.
I think many of your rich people are almost Swiss residents.
No.
I really think so.
No, I don't know. No. And is it a subject in school? The history of the 20th century?
What about it?
About the Cold War and so, and the end of the Cold War?
Well, when you speak about the end of the Cold War, it's more related to our regaining independence.
Yes.
So it's just a story of having basically Yeltsin with the putsch, and then afterwards the Baltic countries regaining independence.
Yeah.
But when it comes to other stuff, I'm not sure whether or not we really focus on global or European matters that much. Well, I mean, if you ask me that question now, it's more than 10 years after I've been to the stage where you have the gymnasium classes, right? So maybe they changed something, but yeah, it usually was, you learn, let's say, the most you learn about the past probably 400 years of Europe mostly, of course, and then 20th century is mostly, yes, 2 world wars, and starting in the 90s regaining independence, and from there it's just Latvian democracy, or the republic, and then everything else is just in real time. I would say so.
Okay. Can you recommend anything in Riga what I should do in the next few days?
You mean as a tourist?
Yes, or as an interested person.
Well, look at it this way. If you are going through Riga during a workday, all museums, for instance, would be open, right? So that means the whole old town, which is nearby, is up for grabs.
Okay.
You can sort of definitely. I mean, most people who walk through the old town and are coming from all the either Scandinavian or German places, they see similarities.
Okay.
Well, just because 800 years of
course,
German and Scandinavian influences, right?
Course.
And so you have those who want to see the architecture, those who want to see some historical sites. It's all there, right? But if you ask me, Hamburg is more interesting.
Hamburg is?
Yeah, Hamburg is more interesting.
Yes, okay.
That's what I would say.
Thank you.
Well, sort of. I mean, you get the point, right? If you are here for a few days, sure, go ahead. The old town is yours. And other than that, well, depends on your let's say interests, because you have basically everything you would have in Germany, meaning interest groups or specific niche type of scenarios. It's just that it really depends on what you are looking for. And then it's just a matter of looking on the internet, probably a forum or whatever.
Yes, we have a program. It is.
You mean an app? Like on a phone?
We have a program, we have a guide and so on. Tomorrow. We have a group and so we are guided. And
so you will do a guided tour around Riga, or probably the old town, right?
Yes, and so on.
Well, if it's on your feet, then it's more the old town and a little bit of the center. That's what usually people do. They just walk around the center and the old town, which is fairly small. I mean, Riga is probably 90% outside of the center.
I came from the airport, so I know a little bit of Riga.
I guess so. You can say so. Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you say that you are actually planning of visiting not just museums but also some quirky, some original stuff, or do you
Yes,
want
of
to
course,
do
of course.
traditional
No.
tourist
It's,
things?
I should have a look because the program is on the other side of this flat.
Mhm.
But it's I did this group tour for several times and it was always perfect. The guide were very interesting. They did it with heart, yes, with heart blood.
But they get
And-
paid, right?
Yes, of course. But
Because you have also free tourists, tourist guides, and then they want that you can tip them. They want
okay. Yes.
the option.
But I look forward for the tour tomorrow, and we go to special places, Jewish history, for example, and it's quite
Jewish
interesting.
history. Well, I guess we have a Jewish some type of building. I've been there. I remember they had a museum in the second floor, on the second floor.
Yeah.
Wasn't that interesting?
I can write an email after the tour, and I can
Sure,
tell
why
you
not?
or write you what all.
Well, that was the place where I remember that the tour guide telling, yeah, that's where tourists come to see. Yeah, so you probably will go there.
I mean, in the
that
Second World
building.
War in Riga, there was a ghetto.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's what they have there. But it's really so. I mean, it's just I think 4 or 5. Basically 4 or 5 rooms.
Okay,
It's not that big. Is what I'm saying,
I have a look.
right? Because Germany should probably have some big Jewish something museum or whatever,
Yes, of
right?
course, in Berlin.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
of course.
probably nothing compared with that. But yeah, other than that,
Oh.
because you being a history teacher, it makes it much more simpler to ask. There were probably Jewish ghettos all over Europe, right?
Yes.
During the Second World War.
But especially in the east, because in the east most of the Jewish people lived. So, yes, Warsaw.
But then how
Warsaw.
come? But then how
Riga.
come? But wasn't the original, let's say, anti-Semitism in Europe born in France?
Oh, it's hard to decide where it was born because it's
Well,
so old. You
originated,
can,
sort of.
what was originated? You can even find it in the old antique Greek time and so on.
Well,
Yes.
look, of course.
You mean the modern?
If you also take the Bible, you can see the France.
Of course.
Yeah. But what
Or
I mean,
Martin Luther.
But
Luther, for example.
what did he do?
It's hard to explain it in English, but he was he was part of his time, and so he was on the one hand very progressive and very tolerant.
He was a revolutionary, right?
Yes,
At that
yes,
time.
but about the Jewish population, he was very tolerant at the
Mhm.
beginning, and in the end, he was. So is one explanation. He was. Yes, he was angry because they didn't want to do what he wanted, and so he told some anti-Jewish quotations you can find. Yes, but it's very difficult to teach it in German and in English for me with my few English sentences.
That's good. Come on, don't be too hard on yourself. It's all fine.
Yeah.
But isn't that? You mean that the anti-Semitic sentiment was all over the place, all over history? Because I thought, because remember, Hitler had the
it changed.
Hitler had the huge, massive public propaganda against Jews, right? And one of the main arguments was the Protocols of Zion, right?
Yes.
And those Protocols of Zion, they stem from France,
Yes.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And somehow they got to Russia
yes.
as well, but I think they stem from France.
Yes,
from
it's
the,
difficult. In the Middle Age, you have anti-Jewish prejudices. Yes, you have. Like they are all rich and so on. And it changed in the modern times, and that's perhaps the difference to a racistic. Yes, in the Middle Age.
Well, is it really
in the
racistic?
Yes, in the Middle Age, you were, it was your religion, yes? But in the time of Hitler and at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, some people believe that it is not a religious group, that it is ethnic or a race. Race? Yes.
I get it, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it changed, and the difference is if you are, if it is a religious group, you can say no, I don't want to be it. Yes.
Yep.
But if it's not a religious group, if you are by human being, you can't decide to say no, I'm not part of this group. So
that's actually the one thing I have never understood. How are you able to even identify as a Jew? Because you look like just a regular white person.
Yes, of course.
And I know for the religion, they just use the maternal side, right? Whether or not your mother was a Jew. But you cannot see that. So how would you be able to even differentiate?
No,
I don't get that.
No, me too. No.
I know, but what I mean is, how do they know who to put into the concentration camp?
Yes, it was.
See? How?
It was pseudo. It was yes. They tried to
the surnames. Those were probably the ones who gave it away.
Yes, they tried to explain it, but the explanation is senseless. So
I'm not sure. Look, I've had a podcast with. Well, I'm not sure whether I could call him even Latvian because he has been to Latvia. He comes to Latvia, but I think he was born in Canada, and he speaks English, Latvian, French, and he's a professor in Canada, and he came here. He comes here every year, basically for the summer, so I spoke to him. And he was saying, "Look, it's all almost a Jewish conspiracy. Everything is controlled. The media, the corporations. So that's too simplistic. I'm just telling him that's just too simplistic. See, but I think it's the French influence, man. I really think that the French. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I think the French don't like Jews.
No, I think it's
because they are usually. What do you believe in stereotypes?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No.
Because look, if we would talk about stereotypes,
they exist, but I don't believe in them. Yes.
Well, but do you think that they reveal some part of truth about certain people in general? Because the French, for instance, would be always complaining about something that it's not just, right, and stuff like that. So I think it might come from that, because the complaint would be, well, this situation is unjust, so who's to blame? Not we, them.
Okay, I believe it's quite easy. Perhaps there are differences. Perhaps the Germans, the Bavarian with the typical trousers, yes, and the French with the baguette, and I don't know you with whatever. But the most important point is quite simple. We are all human beings, and full step. Point.
Full step?
Point. This little.
I get what you mean.
I mean, finito.
Yeah, I know what you. I understand what you mean, but what was what you said? We all humans, and
I said
because before the point you said something else.
Full stop. I think it's
full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah. Well, you are idealistic, right? Because guess what? Asians are total racists, and they don't even really. Try to hide it or anything. They're just well, look at it this way, it's a different mentality.
I don't like it.
It's a culture
I don't like to say all these people.
Well, of course, you know what I mean. I mean, it's not even possible to say in a total absolute all of them 100% is like this. Of course not. But it's the linguistics of it. You just say, well, they are just because the general attitude would be considered in that direction more than in this direction. Yes, but Asians are funny. Asians are funny with this.
I prefer more to be more in detail, even if it's more
if it's possible.
Yes,
if it's technically possible, of course.
It should be.
Yeah,
We have to try.
because when I say Asians, I don't mean the people who have a little bit flat eyes. I mean the people who live
Yeah.
there and are born there and live
Yeah.
there and don't really come out of the, because those who travel a lot, those are totally different people usually, no matter where they are starting from. If a person like you, for instance, you've been to how many countries? Do you know?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to.
No. Well, what's your rough estimate?
I think about 15.
15?
Yes.
All right, so 15 countries. You probably are not the same person when you were in only one country.
Yes, of course.
See, and so well, at least some of those countries affect you in a way that you change or alter your personality, and so that makes
It's perfect. It's my philosophy because I believe we should meet each other, and so we have less wars. Because if I know the other one, I don't want to shoot him.
well, even if you don't know him, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be inclined to shooting. I can tell.
Okay.
I
But
can
it's,
tell already.
It's in a more complex system. If the nations know each other.
But what do you think? Yeah, but what do you think? So speaking of historically, right? So what do you think? What were the sort of the most or the biggest aggregate causes of the wars, for instance? Do you think because think about it this way? I don't think that, let's say in 1939, let's say an average Hamburg person was even thinking about some average Polish person.
Yeah.
They didn't care. They just went along their day, did their work, did their daily routine. It wasn't on the agenda for them, right? It's just that. So who was interested in what and what are the basic tools to achieve them? So what do you think, what were the aggregate causes? Do you think people just didn't talk to each other? Or do you think just, all right, I want this and that, and they just don't want to give it to me? Or something like that?
It's very complex.
That's why we're here,
Yes.
Lars.
Yes.
That's why we're here, to discuss the complex things
Yeah.
on a Saturday night.
Perhaps in 10 years again when I try to learn English again for 10
Well,
years.
how come you are so hard on yourself? Your English is fine.
No, I do my very
You are
best.
you are too big of a perfectionist.
Yes.
You want to be
And far away.
or tall.
And far away.
Yeah, but no need to. I mean,
Yeah.
even English people don't speak proper English.
I would just say.
You know what my father said? Because he's from the old generation, right? So he sort of picked up a little bit English, enough for you to, let's say, go to a Subway or
Yes.
to speak some simple terms in the grocery shop. So he said he went all around the world, basically America and different parts of other places, and also England at one point, right? And he said the most difficult time when he had the most difficulties communicating was in England. Because he didn't understand anything what they say. It wasn't English.
Okay.
It was with a dialect or whatever
Okay.
that he didn't understand almost anything.
Perhaps he was in Edinburgh or something.
Well, yeah, but the basic point is, probably that English might not be the best representation of the English.
Yes, but
the
they are
language.
quite nice. Yeah.
You mean the language or the people?
Both. The people. The language is hard for me. You know the TH. Yes.
So fine. Because it makes it more sympathetic. Z?
Z?
Z. well, when the TH is pronounced Z. Right?
Yes.
It makes it a little bit quirky.
It's
That's
part
about it.
of my history. It was quite hard for me in the school time with the TH.
What you mean during your school years?
Yes, TH. But it's okay.
I mean, yeah. You are being forgiven.
Yes,
That's for sure.
You
Nobody is
forgive me?
blaming you.
Oh, thank you.
Nobody's blaming you.
No, and I mean, yes, it's yes. Always do your best.
Have you done also, if you say that you like to go running, have you done also some competitive sports?
Yes, I try to be fit.
Well, no, but I mean competitive sports.
Comparative?
Competitive, that you are let's say, participating in a triathlon, you want to be the first?
No.
Or whatever.
I did several times the Jack way, the way to Santiago de Compostela. You know this way to Santiago,
Is it
Spain, pilgrims.
pilgrims?
Yes, from you never heard about.
Well, I've heard of it, but I'm not sure what it is.
So I did it, and
but that's not competitive, right? You don't win
no,
a prize.
No, you meet people from foreign language, from foreign nations. But yes, of course, when I tomorrow go running, yes, in the morning here, it would be not so nice if grandmother and grandfather would be coming and faster than me, but it's not really important for me. I'm the best or so. What I really like is that I can decide what I want to do. If I want to climb a hill, I can manage it. Not the Himalaya perhaps, but yes, this is important for me. I would not like to be so unsportive that I can do not what I want to do. I like freedom. Yes.
You like being fit.
Yes.
To do what you want
because
to do.
Today I decided to go from the airport to your flat. I decided, and it was no problem for me. Perhaps somebody thinks that he's crazy. Why didn't he take the bus for, I don't know, 2 euros or so? But I decided because I wanted to feel.
Wait a second. You walked?
Yes.
Oh damn! You're crazy.
Yes. Only less than 2 hours.
So you walked from the. No, that's original. That is original.
I did it in Madrid. I did it in Lisboa. And you meet many people, and it's really interesting. You don't have to do anything. You just have to walk.
So literally, you walked from the airport.
Not every time, but sometimes I do it. In Madrid, I did it. In Lisboa, I did it. In Lisboa, I walked to the airport to catch somebody from the airport, but there was a little problem because there was a fence. And an airport field is very huge, yes. And so my navigation system didn't tell me that there is a fence and there's a closed door. And so I was there, but it was closed, and I had to
walk
go around. I don't know, 8 kilometers, and the plane was coming in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So not 5 minutes, but 20 minutes. So I decided to take a bus and train and when I arrived at the airport, with 15 minutes too late or something like this, there was this little sign, and the plane was 1 hour too late. So I thought, yes.
Happens. Yeah.
Such a slide.
You know what I wanted to ask you? How do you actually decide to become a history teacher? Because I think you are the first one who is, first of all, a teacher, and then specifically a history and math teacher, because I didn't know that the combination go together.
Yes, in Germany it's possible. Yeah. It's I'm interested in both subjects, and so it's quite easy.
So did you, I don't know, at one point after you finished your university, just decide?
No, after school.
You mean after the 12th class? 13th class?
Yeah.
So after 13th class you decided you want to become a teacher. That's interesting.
Yes.
That's very early, right?
Yes, but I like this type of job. It's perfect.
So what is the thing you like about it? Because I would imagine you just need to talk every day with uneducated, ignorant, small children.
No. The generation is much better than many people think.
Well, but still they're ignorant.
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. And even
maybe they just trick you. You ask him a question and they just quickly Google it. Yeah, it was Louis the 14th.
Perhaps, but then they are good in this kind of.
Yeah, well, that's a skill for sure.
Okay.
That is a skill.
Yes.
So you just decided to right after school you wanted to be a history teacher.
Yes, and mathematics.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's so.
But I could imagine to do other jobs too, but I really like it.
It's your first and only job then?
Yes.
And for how many years have you been doing it? You're
many,
old, right?
Many, yeah.
So more than 20? 20?
About 20, I would say. Yes.
Oh man.
Oh
So
no! I have to think about it. Oh, yeah, 15, 12, 15, 15.
and do you plan to just do that until retirement?
Yes. Why not? What are you doing? I mean,
Currently, a legal advisor at the army.
legal advisor at the army. So you, my English is too bad. What are you doing? Legal?
Jurist.
Jurist?
Yeah.
Law.
Yep.
Ah, okay. And can you describe it? What are you doing then?
Well, everything that needs to have some legal feedback most of the time. It varies. So one time it might be some people have troubles with, let's say, some conflicts, and so they need to investigate to see who is to blame, who is to punish, because you need to discipline those who misbehave and something like that. So that's the one assistance. Sometimes it's maybe a court case, somebody has done some damage, or either way you need to.
But it is in the context of army, or didn't
the army,
yes.
The ones who shoot things, yes. That's in the same
you
context.
are in the context of a judgment in this law.
Well, not necessarily judgment, because we don't have court-martials.
Yes,
it's not like that. We don't have such a system.
Yes.
But it's just that, well, look at it this way. You are in a school, right?
Yes.
You have somebody who is responsible for legal matters,
yes,
right? For juristic matters.
Yeah.
So
you too, but in the subject of army.
exactly.
Okay.
So you have somebody in school who does the school things,
Yes.
and we have, well, everybody has in their organization somebody who does the legal things.
Okay, and you like it?
No, never liked it.
Oh.
Well, if you ask me why I do the things I usually do, it's just because they add to my skill set.
Okay.
Because you had a plan after school of going into a certain profession. I, after school, had a certain vision of having the ability to do any profession I would care to do at any moment. So what are the tools that I need to be able to do that? So I acquire them year after year. Because last year I was at another job. The year before I was another job. The year before, so it's not like I'm jumping ship or anything. But it's definitely one of my biggest interests is to actually keep moving, keep evolving, create a bigger experience, create bigger skill sets, and sometime in the future just take over the world.
Okay.
Right? To have that ability to know, let's say, if you, let's say, put me into a whole different world, whole different country, whole different situation, I would still manage, what do I need? Because I remember all different things in the past, and so I synthesize the needed.
The structure.
Yeah. And so I guess that's what the similarity between us, right? We had a plan, at least, what we would like to be, what we would like to do after school. And I suppose you still feel like you are learning every day still.
Of course. Today English. By practice. But there's a famous quotation about your plan. You were talking about plans.
I know
about.
about.
Famous quotation from John Lennon, I think, this big musiker.
Do you know the quotation from Mike Tyson?
You first.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched on the mouth.
Okay, Maya is less violent. He said, if you want to bring God to laugh, tell him about your plans.
I don't get it. If you want to bring love,
God to love. Ha 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 ha.
God to laugh.
Yeah, to laugh.
Okay,
Yes.
I got it.
Then
Then I
tell
understand.
him about your plans.
I've heard of it.
Because,
You cannot plan those things.
But without a plan is no alternative, I would say. So a plan is good, but you should be flexible to say, okay.
But see, that's the thing you actually said yourself. You don't know why your school or your education system is going back to 13 years, right?
I know, but it's there are many.
But would you do it also? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with it. It's okay. Both ways would be possible.
Then you don't agree with it.
No, both ways are possible.
No.
12 and 13.
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
if you had to say, you, Lars, you make the decision. Do we need a 13th year? Would you
Yeah.
have said, yes, definitely, or, well, we can do it? See what I mean?
Yes, I know.
Yes, definitely.
You
Is
want a-
yes, you need it. Because that's...
You want that I make a clear decision. Yes.
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
I would say no.
You would say no?
Well, no, it's clear from your expression
Yes.
that you would be fairly happy
No,
with 12.
No, I think it's not the most important point.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yes,
You would
okay.
be happy with 12.
Yes, but I'm happy with 13 too.
And if they
You
put,
have more time for
And if they-
trips like...
and if they put 14,
No, too much.
oh, so that's the line.
Yes, 13 is the line.
All
Yeah,
right.
12, yeah, 12 or 13.
But you, as a historian, can you tell me, at one point in time, it used to be that they only had 7 classes or something like that, right?
7.
In school,
Yes.
in total, right?
I'm not so good.
Because remember, my grandma,
Yeah.
she was finishing, I think, 6 or 7 classes.
Yes.
And that's it.
What? But I'm no expert in history of education.
So what is your expertise in history?
Of countries, nations, and so on, not of the history of the education system in Germany or something like this.
So would you say your
I
main
cannot
focus is geographic history?
Yes, or political or society, but not. I'm not, for example, an expert in the history of medicine. Yes, perhaps a little bit. But if you ask me in what year was penicillin founded, I would say 1910, 1911. I don't know.
Yeah, the
So-
start of the 20th century. Fair
Yes,
enough.
okay, but I'm no expert because.
And I think the one was Fleming
yes, might
responsible.
be. Yeah. So you're good in this part.
Yeah, looking at YouTube videos. Yeah. Yeah. But see, you have a sort of interesting situation because, not to be personal, but I thought at one point in time, school teachers will be obsolete because you can learn everything on the internet.
Yes, but that could be true for many jobs. So
Which would be nice. Let's be real.
And it shall take time until this happens.
Well, of course,
So
it won't be overnight.
Yeah,
Of course.
perhaps over centuries.
Well, I wouldn't be so bold.
I'm not scared.
Think about it this way: when you made the decision that you want to be a history teacher, you probably had some, I don't know, some big, still chunky landline phones, right? No mobile phones. No, nothing.
No, and I was glad.
Well, you probably use a smartphone, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I was very late because I'm a historic teacher.
You are a conservative person, right? Who do you vote for?
Oh,
You have I know the parties. Well, I
Yeah.
sort of do. CDU was Merkel. CSU was the Bavarian guy. SPD, yes,
Yeah.
was the red ones,
Yeah.
the social ones. I don't know. FDP is still around.
Yes. Liberal.
Yeah, those liberals. But at one point they weren't around, right?
Yes, they were for one time.
Yeah. So out of those 4, did you vote for any of them?
There are the green one.
Oh yeah, the green ones. But they mostly are coalitioned with one of them, right?
Oh no! They become bigger and bigger.
The green ones?
Yes, the green ones.
Really?
So yeah.
So out of those 5, you voted for the Christian conservatives?
We have a word in Germany for this. It's a Wahlgeheimnis.
Come on. I understand what this means,
Yes,
but
so
come on.
perfect.
You are in Latvia.
Yes.
No Wahlgeheimnis over here.
No.
That's interesting. Even though no Germans are watching.
You know, physics?
No Germans are watching, trust me.
Yes, you know physics.
Hmm?
Physics. The
Physique?
subject physics.
Well, I
If
mean,
you-
I know that there's
If
a subject of
if you
physics.
try it with pressure,
Yeah.
there is a pressure in the other direction.
A
So
reaction,
if you tell
yes.
me
For
I have
action,
to tell you
reaction.
something, I tell nothing.
All right. If you are saying that
But
if you are not
don't
saying
try,
No,
try
no,
the
no.
other way.
Reverse psychology now. If you are not saying who you voted for,
Yes.
you can say to me who you didn't vote for.
Okay, I tell you one. I didn't vote for the CSU, the Bavarian, because I do not live in Bavaria. It was not possible.
Really?
No, it's only in the Bavarian area you can vote for them.
Oh, but aren't they in the Bundestag?
Yes, because the people in Bavaria can vote them, and the percent of this election in
Oh.
Bavaria goes to the Bundestag.
Ah, all right.
So I didn't tell you anything about my election because
Because
it was not possible to vote them,
you voted
and I
for
didn't vote for your president because it's not possible to decide.
for my president.
Yes,
Oh, what a quirky remark.
yes.
But you voted for what's the one?
Yes.
The AFD. No, I'm guessing FDP.
You can guess whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want.
that's what I'm.
Yes.
I'm sensing some liberal conservatism. So what are other things that you really don't discuss publicly? Because you are the first one, I think, who said, "Well, I'm not really interested in sharing my political thoughts."
Yes, yes. So one is always the first. No? It's not bad to be the first, I think. Yes, I don't know, but I could imagine some fields of talking I don't want to talk because it's private. Yes.
Well, is it? I mean, when it comes to voting. So what do you say? Let's say you have some elections
Yeah.
upcoming, because in Latvia, for instance, we have elections upcoming next week.
Yeah.
If you go to your, let's say, I don't know, neighbors, friends,
I can tell you something
neighbors,
about.
friends, relatives, do you discuss
Yes,
these matters?
Yes, of course, but not in the whole world. And I can tell you, I believe that Europe, the European history, is very good. The European Union, for example, and I believe it is very important that we protect this process of coming together and yes, and no nationalism. Yes, and now you can decide what my vote could be. It's a wide range, but not every party in Germany, I would say Europe and the Europe Union is very important.
I see what you mean. But yeah,
But for
I'm
me, it's
guessing.
very important when I teach. It's important that I do not say you have to do this. I want that my pupils discuss and think about their situation, what is important, what are their moral, their worth, yes, and then they have to decide on their own.
Do you mean in history class?
Yes, for example.
Because mathematics you won't
No, not so.
discuss anything.
But perhaps you can even discuss in mathematics because mathematics is important for some decisions. Yes, but it's not so close to discuss about politics in mathematics, of course.
So do you consider the subject of history that you teach more reason to discuss morals and philosophy? Because it sounded like you would actually use just historical occurrences, situations to just allow students or pupils to discuss.
It's an old question if you can learn out of history or if you can't learn because every situation is different. But I believe you can teach and learn structure, kind of process, and so you can learn for the future. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's more important to understand how decision came to a point more than to know on the 7th of December 1941 the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. I mean, it's true, yes, but the date is not so important. More important is the structure.
Yeah, you now walk a slight path there, right? Because if you ask why did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor,
Yes.
nobody has an answer, right?
It's difficult.
The biggest motivational factor was that they felt oppressed by them.
Oppressed or surprised?
Oppressed that America bullied them.
Yes, there was a struggle in the East, in the Asia region, yes, about China and so on, and about the resources. It's very difficult, yes, of course. But that's the important point, that people discuss and try to find their own answer. Yes.
Is it good if people find their own answers for historical events? Because technically they discuss the same thing, but if they make a different conclusion for the same thing,
yes, it's possible, of course.
Yeah, but that's the exact opposite of mathematics then.
Yes,
if you discuss the same,
mathematics is not only 1 + 1 is 2. It's more complicated. Yeah.
But do you have the possibility of changing results?
In mathematics, you try, for example, to make a model to describe a natural process. For example, if I want to know how big you are, I could make a model like more or less this, or yes, but it's not so exact like you think, because if you want to modelize something, you have you have to decide how exact can be your model.
Well, you are speaking about differences in approach.
Yes, exactly.
You have different approaches.
Yes, yes.
But
and this is in history too possible. I mean, yes.
Sounds risky. Sounds risky if you say that in history you have different
it's
approaches.
More risky if you say there's only one opinion about one historic event and this is the truth. This is more risky.
Well, look at it this way. I mean, you have different approaches when it comes to even wars, right? Depending on either was it the victorious country or the losing country. So history is taught on two sides about one thing differently. So it's probably not that good, right? Because it means that those people and the descendants of those people will live in a different attitude, different sort of thoughts.
It's always not easy if it's in the time something happens to decide what was wrong, what was right. Even if you are on the victory side or on the side who loses, it needs time, and if I would say 40, 50 years later, it's more easy to say with less stress on the situation. Yes. But I believe that history is not only truth and false, it is more complicated, and you have to discuss with tolerance and different opinions. And I mean, yes. It is like if you make a walk around, yes, and I say I want to go left, and you say I want to go on the right. Okay, perhaps we find a compromise and go the middle way, or.
Was it Voltaire who said that history is just written lies?
There was somebody, yes, but I don't know if it was Voltaire. Yes. The quotation is correct, but I don't remember who was the author. I don't know. Perhaps Voltaire, but my remember this saying someone.
Well, somebody who just.
I believe many, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. So would you say that
we try our best?
What do you mean?
With the lie, we try our best to find the best way.
Oh, actually, you as a teacher, are you? What is your work like? You just present a book and then talk about the book, or do you do your own research as well? Are you a researcher also?
Yes, I research, of course, but I try that my pupils are research too. So if they have a test, it might be possible that one comes to the conclusion it was totally wrong what the historic person did, and the other one comes to the point of view it was totally right, and both could be the best mark in school system, because it is important how they explain it, why it is their opinion. There are many
It
processes.
sounds like moral philosophy.
Yes, a little bit. If you want to know, if you want to say it's philosophy, I would say it's a historic work, because it's important to find a way to explain your own opinion. This is important.
Don't you do that just by writing essays?
No,
In school?
By discussing, for example. It's important to hear the opinion of the other one. It can change. Didn't you tell a few minutes ago about many nations I have seen, and so I'm a different person because of all the foreign nations I met?
You? Yes.
Yes, and so it is in history lesson too. If you talk to other, you may have a new point of view.
Well,
Yes.
I see your point.
But you are not glad.
I'm not convinced. Yes,
Yes.
I'm not convinced.
It's okay, it's your point of view.
See, I knew that you will say that.
Very important is that you now don't take a knife and say to me, you have to.
I see.
Yes.
I know. I see your strategy. I see your
It's not a
strategy.
strategy, it's a
Well,
philosophy.
approach. I see your
It's
approach.
It's a philosophy.
All right. Well, sort of. Either way. But would you also say that you have met during your visits in those particular countries also similar people like you, meaning the same profession? Let's say, what would it be like that you from Germany, as a gymnasium history and math teacher,
Yeah.
do you specifically also go to another country and meet their country's gymnasium history and math teachers, for instance?
No.
No?
I met many different people.
No, but I mean, if you meet also those people like you, the professions like you, of course you meet different people,
Yes.
but specifically also the ones like you.
And your question is if they have the same opinion, or
Sort of, yeah.
Not
What
all,
do you
no.
see? What do
No.
you conclude?
No, of course there are different opinions. Some say it is more important to say the truth of history and say this was the truth of history. But it's not my way. I have to decide what is my way and try to go my way. And I think it's very important to discuss about history and to find your own opinion and to respect the opinion of the other. Of course, I would not respect. Yes, it's in the question of religion the same. I respect religion if it's peaceful. Yes, I don't believe that if God exists that He is interested in right or wrong in the sense that we should fight against each other.
Mhm.
But I have no problem with different point of views to religion. From I don't believe in God until God is love or something like this. Tolerance makes the life more comfortable and more lucky.
Well, wasn't there a saying that the truth only comes by conflict?
The truth comes by conflict.
By
discussion.
well, discussion, or much rather the conflicting viewpoints.
Yes, but peaceful and with respect and with tolerance and
Well, at that point, you might as well say, yeah, sure, everybody can agree to disagree, and that's that, right? I mean, at one point, you probably can say, well, there's a discussion, and after this point, the discussion doesn't really brings anything. It's just a discussion for discussion's sake.
No.
Because I remember Germany had a strong union, well, many unions, right, for workers. And I remember when I was in Germany, a woman told me, because I'd asked him, why don't you guys work on Sundays?
Yeah.
oh, we have a strong union. Don't you even try to bring your philosophy of working on Sundays? I say, but it's so convenient. I tell them it's so convenient if you can, let's say, go to the store
Yeah.
on every given day,
Yeah.
and it's open. It's so convenient,
Yeah.
right? And so no, it's such a almost sanctified day for
And what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that it doesn't adapt to the 21st century.
Oh,
That was
but-
my conclusion.
Yes, but who has to decide? Yes. I mean, it's
Well, people decide by just their actions, right? Especially when you talk about economically, they just decide by their decisions, by buying decisions,
But-
because they will go to those who will be open.
yes, but in Germany, less are open
What was?
on Sunday.
Well, but nowadays I think you have some options. I think you
Less.
have the internet options.
Yes, but no post delivers on Sunday, or it's very expensive. Also, on Sunday, most shops are closed. There are special days, special regions, perhaps, but
Yeah, and
most are closed.
yeah, and see, that's what I see would change in Germany.
Perhaps, if the majority wants it, it could change.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Democracy.
Because economic
But
barrier
it's
is
a
so strong.
process of discussion.
No, it's just that it's a process of action. See, once you have customers, once you have some clients who just act, and you as let's say a business owner see that I don't get money or I don't profit as much because they do it this way. Well, I would need to adapt, right? And I'm not sure.
But if the law says no,
Wait a second, you have a law forbidding it totally?
yeah, not totally, but it's hard to get the possibility to open your shop. Normally, it's closed. Yeah.
You see, that was probably the most strangest thing
Yeah.
I see. Because you've been to Poland, right?
What?
You've been to Poland, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say perhaps last question because it's very exhausting. It's nice to talk to you, but it's exhausting because my English is not so good, and I always on high level here and try to say.
Well, anyway, I mean, we can call it a day. I mean, it's been more than an hour.
Oh,
So,
more than an
yeah.
hour. It seemed to me like a few minutes.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
You have probably a lot of interesting things to say. But yeah, we should probably discuss that
In 10 years.
in German.
In German, yes.
Das
ist ganz einfach für mich.
in 10 years,
Yes.
10 years after you. But you are not really specifically learning English, right?
No.
It's not like you go to class or anything.
No,
that's what-
not really.
that's what I thought.
I just try with hands and feet
Very
to
good, very
do my
good.
very best. Like on the way to Santiago de Compostela. Many nations and we all tried and it was fantastic. And peaceful.
Do you speak also other languages?
No, not really good. A little bit Swedish.
Swedish,
Yes.
because it's similar. Because it's similar to German.
No, because I wanted to say help when I am in Sweden with pupils.
Which is
Help.
Help?
Help.
which
I
is
want to know what help is the word in Swedish. And it is help. Because if I'm on my tour with students,
you mean help?
help.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the word in Swedish for help? Because when there's a dangerous situation and I cry help, 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 and the Swedish, many can talk very good English.
Yeah, Swedish
but
do
if
speak
there
good.
are the few Swedish who don't talk English, they go, help, help. Oh, he is asking for his wife. I don't know. Yes, but
Right.
if I say help, help, they
Help?
know. Yeah, they know. It's
So-
help, help, help.
So the translation of Hilfe would be halb,
Help,
halb.
help.
Yeah.
So perhaps it might
Fairly
be
easy.
very important for you if you go to Sweden and you have a dangerous situation. Yeah, now you know.
Help.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know naughty words in Swedish, so
Oh.
I won't give you those. you just
I
go.
don't know.
Yeah, you just go without them.
No,
You'll
no.
be good.
No.
All right.
Perhaps it's the same important to say what is the word for beer, because if you cry for beer,
Probably beer
or free
something like that.
beer, then all people will come.
Because I think Swedish beer is also something like beer.
Swedish beer is with less alcohol.
No, what I mean, the word for beer.
Yeah, it's beer.
Yeah,
It's international.
quite international.
And do you know the word in Sweden for cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Skål.
You are. No, it's not Wikipedia. You have it.
Yeah,
You're
man.
only
Yeah, man.
28 years old, but wise as 84.
True that.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, we can finish our.
Perhaps I should
Podcast.
get a signature of you. Perhaps it's it might be one day very, very expensive.
Oh, now you're charming
Yes.
the hell out of me.
Perhaps can I take a photo of you?
You have a whole video with me,
Oh yes,
right?
I find it in the internet. Oh,
Oh,
I'm
actually-
rich. I'm rich.
I can send you afterwards the link.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be nice.
Yeah.
And
alright.
then I see, oh god,
And 10 years after,
Yes.
10 years after, what
we
did I
have to meet
say?
again. You the president of your country, and I'm the
I wouldn't be able to.
I'm the vice president of my country.
I would be 38, and you can be
You're-
president with 40.
Yes, but you can change.
Before
if,
that,
if
yeah.
somebody is very, very
Before that,
good for the job, they would change. In Germany, it's the same. You have to be 40.
40, right?
Yes, and
Mhm.
I'm 41.
And you had many presidents the last years, right?
Yes.
You have many changes.
Oh no!
I thought you had three presidents in the last 3 years or something.
No,
like
no,
that.
no, 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 no.
Well, you had many changes as far as I
A
remember.
few years ago, but not.
Well,
so
yeah.
many
Now
years
you have
ago.
at least 2 years with one president, right?
Yes,
a couple of years.
and the president for the president now
Yeah.
had a whole period. He was a
Ah.
whole period.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And you want a political answer? Yes, I didn't told
About-
you about the election I did, but I like this former president, Mr. Gauck,
And who is the current president?
Mr. Steinmeier. He's good too, but
The one from SPD, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's not the president is not important. The point of the party. I like Mr. Gauck because he had a point of view. It was not always my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, of course, but perhaps you understood. I like if somebody has a point of view, but it must not be my point of view.
Was he an academic?
He was churchman, former
Really?
churchman. He was
Really?
in the east part of Germany,
Yeah.
and then he was the chief of the former security in the former east part of Germany, the Geheimdienst, the
Secret Service.
Secret Service. Yes, but he was a man who controlled the papers of the former Secret Service.
That's
and
so shady. Sounds so shady. It's like Putin.
No,
right?
no. He
No,
was
no.
He was a man after this Secret Service was over. Who
Wait a
was
second. But he worked at the Secret Service?
No.
Yeah, I did get that as well. So,
After the end of the
Secret Service?
of the Secret Service of the East German government,
yeah.
they collected all these papers made in these
All right.
former times, and there was a government.
So he was a
part who-
politician by then.
No, he was.
Well, some sort of official.
Yes,
He was
but
some
not
sort of
in
a
the
public
not
official.
in the system. After the system,
Oh, so he was a
So-
public official who just dealt with the papers.
yes. Try to find out what was
Interesting that you say that, because nowadays, actually, more than sort of 20 years after it started, only now the Latvian parliament,
Yes.
just before the next elections next week, decided to actually open up the former documents
Yes.
of the Secret Service of the Soviet Union in Latvia.
Okay.
Was it the KGB?
Well, no, it's
you know
a
what I
different
mean.
name.
The Soviet
Yes,
Union
yes,
type
they
of
had a-
Secret
yeah.
Service.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, and why it was so delayed for more than
Yes.
20 years is because many suspected, and probably also it was true, that many of those former secret servicemen and those informers and all of those people that they went into politics themselves during the independence, right? The formation. So now it's more than 20 years, and people are asking, well, at least now, right? So that's not even a closed deal now. They're just starting to actually think about releasing the documents.
Perhaps they can talk to Mr. Gauck. He has experience in this subject.
So was he also the one who did you in Germany publish names of people?
No, it's difficult. If it's historical, very important, it might be, but of course we have the so-called Datenschutz. You cannot say the name of somebody without...
but think about it this way. We, for instance, we had a special rule that nobody from the Soviet Union Secret Service, the former employees, let's say, that they could be actually a member of parliament or something like this, a politician, for instance, right? But if nobody knows that he was a former agent, right? So he gets into parliament and does whatever because he's a former communist, right? That's what they wanted to prevent. But by not publishing, nobody knew whether or not the candidate Mr. X for parliament, whether or not you were an agent or not, because you don't say anything. I wasn't an agent, right? And if they don't publish, nobody knows, right? And so now they are talking about publishing it, and then it will be you can see the name and surname, and because those are historic records. I mean, it's not like they would be publishing some new information, right? They're just archive information.
No, it's right. But it's very interesting. History is interesting.
Well, human behavior is interesting. I mean, the tendency to have groups, conspiracies, and secrets, and lots of things that you don't want to know others, right? It's just it's almost human nature in general. Everybody wants to be a member of a special group. Almost always. All right, Lars. 1.5 hours in.
Perfect.
I think we can call it a night. Thank you.
This is the end, but this is not the end. It is not even the end of the beginning, but it is perhaps the.
I see what you mean.
Winston Churchill.
It's a good intention. All right. Thanks, man.